How to handle emotional triggers from past traumas. In this video, I'm going to be explaining exactly how you can handle those emotional triggers and how we can shift our perspective so that we don't get triggered by these external stimuli. Welcome back to another video. I am Max Hindle I, and I help entrepreneurs release childhood trauma so that you can live a powerful life without years of therapy. And before you get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post. But other than that, let's jump into the video. So the way I'm going to explain this is a trigger comes from an external stimulus, which is a person, stimulus, doing something or seeing something, experiencing something through your senses. Are you seeing something? Are you hearing something? Are you tasting something? Are you feeling something? Or are you smelling something? For example, the smell of someone's aftershave or perfume may remind you of an ex. The smell of petrol may it reminded me of when I used to race motorbikes. So that's a good association. But they can also have negative associations. Like I said, it could remind you of an ex that was abusive and toxic and something like that. Now, is it really the stimulus that's causing this emotional trigger? And I want you to ask yourself, is it actually the stimulus? Because it's not. It's the emotional connection we have to the stimulus. So, for example, I could smell a certain perfume. I've never smelled it before. I could smell it. I could think that's really nice. Someone else who's had an ex that was a bit crazy could smell the exact same perfume but have a negative association with it. And trauma, in general, is just an association to a stimulus or a stimuli that creates an emotional response. So if you want to release it, we need to release the emotional response. We need to find out where the trigger is first. Because another example is, a man could do something specific. A big man with tattoos that you've had experiences with in the past could do something which causes you to feel scared when you're walking down the road. Now, a little old lady, frail old lady, could do the exact same thing, walk down the road. You're going to have an emotional response. I mean, if there was a big guy with tattoos, I'm gonna feel intimidated. If there's a little old frail lady, I'm not necessarily. Because my emotional connection to it is, what's the worst that can happen versus what's the worst that can happen. The fear is stronger with someone who looks more intimidating. And this is not saying that they are. And they've done many social experiments to prove that just because someone looks a certain way, people will treat them differently. And I completely agree, don't judge a book by its cover. But we always make a judgment on someone when we first meet them. Whether we say we do or we don't, we always do. If you met someone and they came up to you and started poking you, like picking your hair, saying you look weird, you look funny, your immediate reaction to them is going to be, I don't like this person. Versus someone who comes up to you and says, you look amazing today, oh, you smell wonderful. What is it you do? And they start asking questions. They're really interested in you. Your immediate response is going to be, I quite like this person. And this emotional trigger that you have right now, this is essentially, you have a button, someone knows how to press that button, or they don't, but they do something anyway. It presses that button, which sends signals up to your brain to say, feel triggered, react in a certain way, feel scared, feel happy. And if you want to understand NLP anchoring, go and check out this video up here, because that explains exactly that. You have a trigger, and you can trigger confidence. You can trigger something empowering versus triggering something negative. Because there's a little secret in this. If you are living around your external stimulus, something happens which makes you feel something. You are living in a cause and effect reality. Whereas we want to move in, if we want to create anything amazing in our life, we need to move into causing an effect in our reality. We need to move into being the creator versus living in the victim role and living in survival. When we move into the victor role and creation, that is when your life will completely change. Because change happens when you have a perspective and a belief that says, well, of course I can do this. And this is a great example with myself. I've not come from money. I've not come from success. I've not come from anything in that aspect whatsoever. But I know, without a doubt, and I will hold it to this video, I am going to be extremely successful financially, extremely successful spiritually, in my mind. I mean, I'm very successful in my mind. And I'm creating that level of success that it's going to happen. So I am being exactly what I want to be in the future, which allows me to be dragged towards that. And watch this video on manifesting and the law of attraction if you want to understand any deeper with that, because I'm not going to go into this. This is mainly about triggers, as I've said. So how do we actually change? And I made a video called the Voov Method, and it takes you from VOOV, victim, overthink, observe, outcome, victor. And I'm not going to explain it in this video. As I said, go and check out that video. But this is a really, really, really powerful way of moving from that woe is me to what can you give me? Come at me. I'm going to take it on. Because I always say to people, I'm not here to take away negative situations. I'm here to help you get through those situations, to be able to work through whatever is thrown at you, because that's going to happen in life. But the goal really is not making the external stimulus, the smell, the taste, the sound, what you see, that person, trigger the emotional response. We can't let them control our lives. And that is the victim mentality. Now, I get it. I understand it. I have been there myself. But if we allow the external world to take control of us, we are not going to be able to continue moving forwards. And in order to do that, we must move from the victim to the victor. And the OOO in the Voov method is the exact process of doing it. Because becoming the victor is actually self-loving. You are respecting yourself enough to say, I will not be treated like that. I will not do that because that's going to bring me pain. But I will do that because that's going to bring someone else pleasure. And it's going to bring me pleasure because I am giving. I am helping. Because the best and most important thing with the Voov method is to find out where those triggers are. Is to find out exactly how these emotional triggers are keeping us in these loops, in these thought patterns. To say, that is going to make me feel anger. That is going to make me feel stressed. This is going to make me feel worried. This. External stimulus, internal emotional response. We want to move from internal emotional response, regardless what the external stimulus is, to feel how we want to feel. Now, I'm not saying wipe out sadness forever. I'm not saying wipe out anger forever. But what I am saying is be more conscious of what you are allowing yourself to feel so that we can shift this from victim to victor. Once you've understood and you've watched the Voov method, I want you to know that trauma healing, especially childhood trauma, any trauma healing, PTSD, anything that you've got needs to be addressed, needs to be understood, and needs to be released. And when you do this, all these little things start to line up perfectly. Because when you use these methods and you go and see the relative therapist, whether that's me, whether that's someone else, whether you find a coach, or as I said, you come and find me. And if you want to, head over to my website and schedule in a free 30-minute strategy call so that we can see exactly where you are, where you want to be, and how we can release that childhood trauma. So if you have any of these emotional triggers, awareness, observation is key. Even if you look at things like quantum physics, the observer effect, all these kind of things, when we observe something, it begins to change. When we observe our behaviors, exactly, it begins to change. It may not happen like that. Some things it will, and I have with other people, but don't expect it. But notice, the more we do it, the easier it becomes. So if you want any other help with this, go and check out this video about breaking karmic cycles and understand that something's going to play out. Again, I'll leave that video to itself. But once you address the emotional trigger, the stimulus, what causes it, everything, it has a domino effect. It starts reducing your anxiety. It starts reducing your depression. It starts reducing all these other things, the umbrella, and we get to the root cause. And the way I always explain it is, imagine the root cause like the trunk of the tree. Once you cut that tree out and you remove those roots, all those branches are dying. Regardless, they cannot continue to grow. So that is where you lose the anxiety, you lose the depression, you lose the fear, you lose the phobias, you lose the opinions of other people. And you will change your whole life. So with that being said, Have an amazing day. Keep spreading love, kindness, and so much positivity.